Thank you for staying with us. 8 people have been confirmed dead in the Mandera attack in which Al-Shabaab militants have claimed responsibility. Some of those who were injured in the incident have been transferred to Nairobi for further treatment. And Mawathe has more.
The face of terror, sparing no one, not even the children. While mother and child embark on this journey to Nairobi to seek further treatment following the attack, questions abound. Is there a sustainable solution to the attacks that have rocked Mandera several times in the recent past? According to authorities, a convoy of vehicles was attacked yesterday by suspected Al-Shabaab militants. In total, there were 3 separate attacks in the area. Mandera County borders Ethiopia to the north and Somalia to the east. Its geographical location has cost the county immensely in terms of security, while Somalia is home to the Al-Shabaab militants who often cross the border and cause havoc in Mandera. Ethiopia is said to be a hideout to some militia who have been involved in clan-based attacks.
This is an extremely inhumane, very barbaric act of violence against women and children. I do not know what purpose it serves if, armed militia will attack a pregnant woman and injure, 3 children very seriously in an attempt to carry out inter-clan conflict.
While promises of never again abound, the people who bear the brunt of the attacks remain hopeful that those promises will yield to tangible security that they can depend on. And Mawathe, Citizen Live at 1.
The controversy over the 1.4 billion shilling payment to 2 firms linked to the Anglo leasing scandal has now degenerated to a bare-knuckle fight, with the Law Society of Kenya now circulating within its membership a letter that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has been guarding, apparently to ensure investigations aren't compromised. And while members read the letter naming 20 persons and companies under investigations of the scandal, the Law Society has written to the British High Commissioner to have the entire proceedings investigated. It's also written to its counterparts, the Law Society of England and Wales, to follow up on the case.
A letter authored by the former Anti-Corruption Director, Justice Aaron Ringera, requesting judicial assistance from the Swiss authorities over the complex fraud committed in Kenya, Switzerland and in the United Kingdom, indicating that 2 former cabinet ministers, one of them now a sitting senator, were initiators and key facilitators of the fraud. 2 former permanent secretaries and 2 former senior officials at the Postal Corporation of Kenya has been a secret document for the last 7 years. 3 regimes down the line at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the file is still active.
The investigations are at a critical stage, and I cannot discuss particulars without giving hints to the people we are investigating, and therefore, some people are very quick at picking leads. We don't want anybody running faster than we are.
But with emotions boiling over, the cat has already been let out of the bag.
I think a lie has been told all the way from the Attorney General's office, and now the President has been looped in by being misled that we lost the cases. We did not lose these cases in England. We agreed to pay. We conspired to pay irregularly. That is the position. We did not lose these cases.
The man you see in front of you is the mortician. The patient died on the operating table a long time ago. If you think the patient should have lived, ask the surgeons.
The Law Society has written 2 letters, one addressed to the British High Commissioner Christian Turner, requesting his government to investigate the entire proceedings with a view to establish whether there was a conspiracy involving the judicial officers and particularly Judge Thierry, who delivered the judgment. The other letter is to the CEO of the Law Society of England and Wales to do an audit scrutinizing how the proceedings were conducted and whether Kenya's Solicitor General Njay Muturi committed an offence by appearing in the London court without a license there. Sylvia Chebet, Citizen Live at 1.
And on the global scene, Swiss bank is due to pay more than $2.5 billion after pleading guilty to tax evasion. For this and more, here's the international roundup.
I want to thank Attorney General Holder for inviting
Right, and time for business now. And meanwhile, oil marketer Vivo Energy has called upon the government to impose tax on kerosene in order to deter cases of fuel adulteration in the country. Vivo Managing Director Polycarp Igade argues that the absence of duty on kerosene has made it easy for unscrupulous traders to buy the commodity cheaply and mix it with other fuel, thus abetting the adulteration of fuel. Igade was speaking during the launch of Vivo Energy's fuel testing laboratory, which will be used to test the quality of fuel products from Shell service stations in the country. The lab is equipped to produce key test results within 30 minutes.
And this test,
I want to show you something.
The biggest adulterant is kerosene. Kerosene is the one that is used. You dose kerosene on diesel or you dose kerosene on petrol. And this is hurting the motorist, it's hurting the border rider, it's hurting the matatu businessman. In Tanzania, they found the same situation as Kenya, that 70% of kerosene is used to adulterate fuel, and they put taxes on kerosene. And in Kenya, the government is losing 7 billion shillings in revenue for not putting duty on kerosene. And that's an issue we need to look at.
The government has banned the importation of maize seeds to curb the spread of a viral maize disease. According to James Onsando, Managing Director of the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, all maize seed imports will have to be thoroughly inspected before entering the country.
Poor rainfall in the country's grain basket regions has seen maize production in the country decline, but it is now feared that a viral maize disease could worsen the situation. The disease, known as the maize lethal necrosis, was first detected and reported in Bomet, but has now spread to Uganda, Rwanda and Burundi. To stem its spread, the Ministry of Agriculture, through the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, has now banned importation of all maize seed varieties.
So we get advanced maize samples, we test for the presence of the virus, and only if the virus is absent is when the companies can be allowed to bring in seed.
Maize seed will now have to be tested and proven to be free of disease before entering the country. In the meantime, a quarantine has also been effected in Bomet, Transmara and Borabu areas where the disease has rapidly spread.
And if you assessed the aggressiveness of this disease when we first saw it, and now it is gone down, and the reason it's gone down is because of the immediate actions.
Other measures aimed at suppressing the spread of the viral disease, according to KEFI's boss, is a 28-week seed dressing using insecticides. This as KEFI's and the Kenya Agriculture Research Institute intensify their efforts to find a disease-tolerant maize variety. Patrick Igunza, Citizen, Live at 1.
And as Kenya's tourism industry braves its slowest season in 6 years, up north, Algeria has held a travel fair to boost tourism around the country as well as showcase international travel destinations. Around 200 exhibitors, including 18 foreign travel companies, took part in a tourism fair in the Algerian capital. The International Show of Tourism and Travel, now in its 15th year, was opened in Algiers by the Minister of Tourism, Nouria Yamina Zehrouni. The theme this year was Destination Algeria, aimed at establishing partnerships with national and international agencies in order to boost tourism. The main aim of the exhibition was to showcase Algerian travel destinations, with the North African country boasting unspoiled mountains, a long Mediterranean coastline and spectacular deserts. Exhibitors at the fair also hoped to highlight holidays to Tunisia, with a small country heavily reliant on foreign tourism for its foreign currency income. And the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, has announced a new 440 million shillings investment and partnership with Texas A&M University in combating a fungus that has caused an 88 billion shillings damage to coffee plants across Latin America and the Caribbean. The so-called leaf rust, or roya, is a yellow and orange colored fungus that has swept coffee fields from Mexico to Peru over the past 2 years, threatening to stunt production and drive up the price of Latin American roasts. Rajiv Shah, an administrator at USAID, has said coffee rust could have a major impact on the region since 2010. Coffee rust, which is a disease, a fungus that attacks the coffee tree, has dramatically reduced coffee output on small farms in Central America and Latin America. According to USAID, mass job losses could in turn leave displaced coffee workers more susceptible to the illegal drug trade and associated violence in countries such as Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Sharply falling production yields could likely result in U.S. consumers paying more for their favorite roasts at the local grocery store and coffee shops. That's what officials have said.
Well, the most devastating thing is that it dramatically reduces the actual amount of output on small farms. So we've seen in Honduras, for example, a 30% reduction in coffee output as a result of rust. And what that means is families that had, over the last several years, almost tripled their incomes are now being pushed back under the poverty line because they've lost their main source of livelihood. That's what we're trying to avoid by engaging in these kinds of partnerships.
And let's turn our attention to the currency markets, where the Kenyan shilling has fallen to its lowest in more than 8 months against the US dollar, pressured by growing insecurity and increased dollar purchase from manufacturers. At the opening of the currency markets today, the shilling was at an indicative exchange rate of 87 shillings and 60 cents buying and 87 shillings and 76 cents selling to the dollar. Its lowest since 30th of August last year, when it touched a low of 87 shillings and 70 cents to the dollar. The local unit exchanged at 120 shillings 9 cents buying versus the euro, and at 147 shillings 29 cents buying against the sterling pound. Closer home, the Kenyan shilling exchanged at 8 shillings 41 cents buying against the South African rand, 28 shillings and 92 cents buying to the Ugandan shilling, and 18 shillings and 76 cents buying versus the Tanzanian shilling. And straight from Rio. What's up, Bernard? How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. So, all roads to the World Cup.
Precisely, it's exactly 23 days to the FIFA World Cup.
Great.
You can sense that excitement, that anticipation ahead of the world's biggest sporting showpiece. It's interesting that it's just about 4 years ago that the World Cup was taking place in South Africa.
Yeah,
and
Africa.
It's here.
Yeah, I mean,
It's here with
amazing.
us.
Amazing. And you know, the World Cup culture is alive, and so a lot of people that I know, a lot of people on Twitter just talking about how they can't wait to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, that's our update. One of the updates that we have in this afternoon, Citizen One Sports, as well as so much more. Citizen One Sports begins after this.